Yeah. Because the way they've been taught about the Bible, that is not the way of the Bible. You know what I mean? Because if I was living in that world where the everyday interpretation of the Bible go on, then I would have eaten the Bible too. But now that we have found the right way of the Bible, then the Bible is to be loved, because the Bible is a record of man creation. It's the only book it's the only book can show you where mankind begin without any prejudice or anything like that, any boastfulness, pride or anything. It just have how it go, and that's it. Well, all the Christian people, not even the Christian, all the people who go to churches interpret the Bible and the preachers them. That is not the right way. Because the greatest thing is that life. See? It's life. Life I deal with. If the preacher read the Bible and tell you that you have to die to go to heaven, then he's not reading the Bible. Because the Bible tells you you have to live in a heaven. You don't die and go to heaven. You have to live in heaven. You know, a lot of places on earth could be. But Africa is our heaven. Because that's where we come from. You know, maybe if it's a Swiss, maybe if you're from Switzerland and the people know God, then maybe you could live in peace, unity, harmony, you know. But, you know, people are stubborn on this earth because of material vanity.
Peace and love, family. I wanted to share some information with you today that has helped me. I hope it helps someone else, because it has helped me to open my eyes up and really pay attention to the world around me and start to question everything that I have learned, including religion. I found out, you know, some very interesting things that kind of made me take a step back from the church. You know, and being raised in a Christian home and going to church and reading the Bible, sometimes I always felt it to be a little bit confusing. And I believe that the true creator of the universe is not an author of confusion, but yet the Bible and religion itself is very confusing. So I found out some information about the Bible again, which I didn't know. A lot of you may know this information, but I'm going to share it with you anyway. I did not know that the Bible had been rewritten and transformed, you know, countless amount of times. I also did not know that in earlier times it was Bibles that circulated that had books and passages in it that we no longer see, that have been banned and removed. I also did not know that the Bible had been translated countless amount of times, you know, from Hebrew to Greek to Latin to a number of other languages before it got to English. And, you know, in the Bible that we read today, there are words in there from previous translations that have been mistranslated, I believe, deliberately, because I think that, you know, our oppressor was preparing us for one day to not be in chains and shackles, but to psychologically, you know what I mean, to have our mind, and that way they can kind of, you know, manipulate us like puppets. But I just wanted to, you know, give you a couple of examples. But before I do that, I just wanted to share something else with you. I watched something on YouTube in regards to the English language, and it said that, you know, the words that we speak, we don't know the true meaning of them because they quite literally mean something else. But they recommended at the end of the video that the watchers get a English to Latin, Latin to English dictionary, also an American Heritage Dictionary, and also an etymology dictionary, which I did get all three. But the etymology dictionary, it gives you the origin of words, which helps you to really put them in their proper perspective. Excuse me, because I'm still at work, so I'm just kind of glancing over at things while I'm working as well. But like I said, I watched that video and it was quite interesting. And again, like I said, I don't believe that we were given that Bible to liberate us, because I don't believe that our oppressor would give us something that would liberate and empower us. I do believe that the book was given to us to enslave us, because quite literally we believe that there is a man that's going to come from the sky to save us, and I don't believe that to be the case at all. I believe that God is the creator is within, and that we all have that power within us. But like I said, we have been psychologically manipulated for so long that we believe the indoctrination education that was given to us. So we are educated enough to believe what we were taught, but we do not have enough self-knowledge to question what we have been taught. Just think about this for a minute. We can spot fake Jordans or fake purses, by Michael Kors, from a mile away, but we can't spot the lies, that have been given to us that sit in front of our face, every single day. So I'm just going to give you a couple of examples where words have been mistranslated from one language that means one thing into another language that means something totally different. So in Isaiah 7:14, where it says that you'll see a sign in heaven, and behold, a virgin will conceive. In earlier Jewish Bibles, the word virgin was not used at all, but young lady or maiden were used, which I think puts a whole nother spin on the Immaculate Conception. And another example is the Greek word for sin is harmatia. That's HARMATEA. And it doesn't mean what we think the definition of sin means, but it simply means to just kind of like miss the mark on error. Say, for example, if, I don't know, you're working with like a bow and arrow, and you're trying to hit a certain spot with your arrow, and you miss that spot. That's pretty much what the Greek word harmatia for sin means, is to miss the spot. But I also just wanted to point out like a couple of contradictions as well that's in the Bible that, again, I wasn't aware of, so maybe this information is new to somebody else. And again, it helped me to open my eyes and start to, really question things. So I hope that, in turn it helps someone else. But the Bible has contradictions in Genesis 1:20 and 2:6, where they had two different creation stories that I spoke about. So the first one mentions God creating the birds and beasts, and then creating male and female in the likeness of us. And I read it. I said, I don't know who us is, but the other creation story in Genesis 2:6, it has God forms man out of the dust of the earth. The woman was formed from his ribs, and then the beast and the birds were formed were formed after male and female. And then in Genesis 6:19 through 21, where it's talking about the flood with Noah, and God is instructing him on how many animals to take into the ark. In Genesis 6:19, it says to take 2 of every living thing. And then in Genesis 7:2, it says to take thee by 7. So, again, that's a contradiction there as well. And then, as I was doing some reading and researching, I just wanted to point this out really quickly, that Moses is supposed to be the author of the Torah, which is the first 5 books of the Bible. But his death is described in Deuteronomy, I believe the 34th chapter, the first verse. There's also another one in there in, I believe, Matthew 5:17, where Jesus said that, do not think that I've come to abolish the law. Until heaven and earth pass away, not a single jot or stroke of a pen will disappear from the law until everything is accomplished. But in Romans, Paul says the exact opposite of what Jesus said. And I also found out something very interesting as well that I didn't know, that the earliest Gospels didn't even record a resurrection of Jesus. And now this is supported by the oldest known complete Bible called the Code of Sinaiticus. And I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, but it's spelled Sinaiticus, and it's located in St. Catherine's Monastery. But the Christian belief is based on the resurrection. Look at 1 Corinthians 15:14, where it says, if Christ not risen, our teaching is in vain, therefore your faith is in vain. So, I'm not here to offend anyone, about their religion, but, again, these are contradictions and also mistranslated words in a book that is supposed to be divinely inspired. And I believe that's in 2 Timothy. But if this book has flaws and contradictions and mistranslations, I'm just asking, how can this be divinely inspired? How can it be, the perfect word of God? So, I didn't know then, but I know now that, I could never fully accept a religion that was kind of forced upon our ancestors. So, we were always spiritual people. So we were led by the forces of nature, and we used those forces of nature to bring about things that we needed. For example, rain for vegetation. We also called upon, upon our ancestors as well, for healing. So if you look at nature itself, they don't need a book or anyone to tell them, how to be, or, how to live free, and again, looking at nature, those that are in the wild, those animals, they're called undomesticated or savages because they're untamed. But if you put a domesticated animal back in the wild, they may not survive because their natural ability has been pretty much stripped away from them, and they no longer know how to survive on their own. So they are dependent upon someone else to tell them how to live, to tell them how to survive, to tell them who we are. And that's a position that, we as indigenous people are, in right now. We can't tell our brothers and sisters, to share not truth knowledge with them, and they kind of, shun away and look at you like you're crazy because it's something that doesn't fit, within their box. So sometimes that makes people uneasy or uneasy or nervous. But everything, like I said, in nature, it uses the forces of nature to grow, to survive, to evolve. So we never looked outward for what we needed. We always looked and turned within, because within is where the true power lies. It's not in the book. That was never intended for our empowerment. And just let me say, don't get me wrong, the Bible does have some truth in it, but because we have been so mentally and psychologically screwed up, for so long, that we can't read in between the lines, and like I said, have enough knowledge of self to read the Bible and to understand how to elevate ourselves. But instead we read it, and again, I'll say this, we look to and think literally that someone is coming from the sky to save us. But how can we trust the book given to us by our oppressors, our ancestors? It was given to them, we still continue to read it, but how can we trust a book that was given to us by people who have always and continue to oppress us. You know, they didn't even allow us to read and to write. You know, they allowed us to read the Bible, which is the only thing that they allowed us to read. Anything else they didn't allow us to read, though. So I don't believe that book was intended to uplift or empower us, because if you think about it, if it was given to us for that purpose and we became enlightened or empowered, then we no longer will take being oppressed. But, you know, again, we still continue to hang on to something, you know, that was given to us by the same people who, you know, brutally raped and hung and used our ancestors' bodies for experimentation, you know, like they were guinea pigs, and might I add, without any anesthesia, because they thought that we could bear the pain. And sad to say, not sad to say, because that's how strong we are, but we were able to bear the pain, and I don't believe any other people would be able to endure, you know, what we had been through. So it's just a lot. You know, I just wanted to, like I said, get that off my chest, because it's something that has been on my mind for quite some time. I have known about this, you know, for a little over a year and a half, going on 2 now, and like I said, that's what stopped me from going to church. But I really believe it was, you know, one of the best decisions, you know, I ever made. So I no longer accept the religion, you know, under those circumstances. Like I said, from, you know, people, you know, who has oppressed us for as long as I can remember, you know, as long as anybody that I know can remember. And like I said, you know, they continue to do that. So, you know, we are psychologically just broken and all kind of messed up, where we don't even like ourselves. So we damn sure don't like one another, our brothers and sisters. We don't know how to communicate with each other. You know, we're very emotional. So, you know, we wear our heart on our sleeves. You know, we can't say anything to one another without somebody getting upset and wanting to fight. And I think it's time that as a people, we stop competing with one another and start working together, so that we can uplift and build our communities. You know, we are all that we have, and we are all that we need. You know, and I said this before, and I'll say it again. I think when we integrated was one of the worst things that we could have done, because before integration, you know, 30s, 40s, 50s, it's even 60s, the early 60s, it was families. You know, they had husbands, it was wives, it was children, and they were all together, and they leaned and they depended on one another. But we don't have that these days. We always look to someone else to give us what we need. And as long as we continue to do that, we will never have what we need. And I'll give you an example. Look at the PHA houses, where it's geared toward the women and children. You know, you pretty much have to lie to get in the house about not having a male, you know, in your life, or not knowing where your children's fathers are. Now, that's just really sad and fucked up, because we need one another, and we may not think that we do. I at one point thought that I didn't, but we absolutely need one another, because that's the only thing that's going to get us through. And I just want to, you know, just say to, you know, my queen sisters out there that, you know, before, in ancient times, we lived in a matriarchal system, and the world was a much better place. You know, it flourished because just look at the universe. Mother Universe, Mother Earth, Mother Nature. There's no father, no papa. The women, they make the laws. Okay, Not rules because rules are meant to be broken, but they make the laws and the men enforce them. But you have man in this day and time who is making and enforcing the laws. And look at where we are. Look at the world. Look at the earth, the heart. Look at what's happening. It's terrible. Like, we are in a very dismal state. But I truly believe that's why Mother Universe, Mother Earth, Mother Nature is going through a very, very, very deep cleansing. Get off of mainstream media, 610, what's the other channel, 3, CNN, 1729, and start looking at other things. Like, really open your mind up, because mainstream is only going to tell you what they want you to know. So they're thinking for you, and you're not allowed to think for yourself, because a lot of us believe exactly, what we see and hear. So, pick up a book, start researching, start studying, start meditating, start putting some alkaline food in your body. Ladies, get you a yoni egg, because at one point, that was the sign that was revered, which was the sign of the woman's womb, because we are the only way from the spiritual into the physical is through our wombs. There's no other way to get here. So I just want to encourage my queen sister today to, start to uplift our men and speak greatness over their life. Let them know that you have their back, so that they can stand tall and, be a force to be reckoned with out here, in this world that is continuously trying to tear us down and tear us apart, and just, break us up. Because I believe once they turn from the matriarchal to the patriarchal system, once they demonize the woman, everything else for them fell in place. And look at the beginning of the Bible. The woman right there is demonized. It was her that followed the lead. The snake or serpent, lead of the snake or the serpent to eat that fruit, and she passed it on to the man. So I just want to encourage our women to encourage our men, to really uplift them, because it is our job, as a people, to teach our children, teach our families, to help and to teach, one another. And that's the only thing I believe that's going to, get us right, and get us back on track. So I hope this information was helpful to someone, because again, like I said, it helped me, and it really helped me to open my eyes and really start to look at, the world around me. So I just want to leave you with this. Just because you love something doesn't mean that you have to be blind to the truth. So I just encourage you to, open your eyes and really start to question everything that you see and hear, because everything is not as it seems to be. So I just want to leave you with that. And I also want to say that if no one has told you today, I love you.